A bidet is a bathroom device that cleans your nether region with water after using the toilet. Generally speaking, it can be either a separate standing unit or part of the toilet itself, whether built in or as an added attachment to an existing unit. I love my bidet. Well, perhaps love is too strong a word. Obviously, I love my wife and kids more, but let's just say I wouldn't want to be forced into a Sophie's Choice situation involving the four of them. Back in the mid-2000s, my gallbladder was removed. For many who go through that surgery, the aftermath includes having difficulties with their bowels.
Daddy saw something wrong with his bowels. My what?
Specifically, toilet time becomes a nightmare with frequent and messy visits. In my case, within a half hour after eating, I would usually suffer a sharp pain that was close to feeling like a punch in the stomach and would immediately need to go to the bathroom. This was extremely annoying and resulted in a significant impact on my life. For example, if there were any plans to leave the house that day, I would be unable to eat anything until getting home, even if it was late in the evening. After all, who wants to be away from home and forced to spend half an hour on a public toilet, or worse, destroying a friend's bathroom? This is not an uncommon complication for those who had their gallbladders removed. For some patients, the issue lasts for a few weeks or months after surgery. For others, it's several years, and for an unlucky few, it's many years or even the rest of their lives. Unfortunately, I was one of those whose post-surgery bowel issues lasted for well over a decade. Don't feel too bad for me though, it did get me out of jury duty. Possibly the worst thing about my bathroom visits was not only how messy they were, getting to the point where it took cleaning myself using wet paper towels or jumping in the shower afterward, but after I was done and walking out the door, I would have to stop, turn around, and sit right back down to deliver yet another batch of soft serve. Over the past few years though, my time in the bathroom has mostly reverted to what it was prior to my gallbladder surgery, and much of that is thanks to my bidet. Not only does it greatly accelerate cleanup, but the spray also helps encourage any lingering stuff to dislodge. So why don't more people in the United States have a bidet in their home? Why aren't they as ubiquitous as a dishwasher or microwave oven? Perhaps it's due to some common misconceptions and just a hint of xenophobia. It's likely the biggest prejudice against bidets here in the United States is that they are considered strange and foreign. In film, bidets are often used as a source of humor, with uncouth Americans, or Australian bushmen, being unfamiliar with the device. On television, Japanese deluxe toilets have even been used as a plot device. Dependency on toilet paper in the United States is ridiculous when you think about it. Parents diapering a newborn baby and getting paste on their hands won't use toilet paper to scrape it off. They'll go straight to the sink and use soap and water, hopefully. Why shouldn't a poo hole deserve the same treatment, especially since a washed one would result in cleaner underwear as well as less irritation for sensitive skin? In addition, for the ladies, a bidet can also clean any other orifices that may come to mind. Although to be fair, there are some concerns that such use could possibly transfer germs from the rear to the front, but there haven't been enough studies to prove this one way or the other. Anecdotally speaking, I've had my bidet for over 3 years, and so far, my wife has never had any issues. Another misconception is that there is not enough room in most bathrooms for any additional hardware, possibly due to the common idea of a bidet being a separate standing unit next to the toilet itself. Fortunately, bidets also consist of attachments to existing toilets, whether installed under the seat or as a separate hose. These take up no extra room in the bathroom, and almost anyone can install one. Finally, some may be under the impression that a bidet is uncomfortable to use because of the temperature of the water. It is true that most models use the same water source that fills the toilet tank, and yes, that water is cold. Very cold. However, some bidet models do use warm water as well, but it's really not that necessary. As seen here, the water pressure from the bidet is surprisingly high. It's not like what you'd get from a drinking fountain, but rather what you'd experience holding your finger at the end of a faucet. And because of this pressure, you don't really notice the temperature. In fact, none of my friends and family who use a bidet ever complain about how cold the water is, even in the middle of winter. Ah, but what about the water? Surely everything is dripping wet when you're done, and that can't be pleasant.
Don't call me Shirley.
Some people simply use a little bit of toilet paper to dry themselves afterward, which, while seemingly defeating the concept of a bidet making a bathroom visit TP-free, it still results in a lot less toilet paper usage. As for me, I keep a roll of paper towels in the bathroom for drying hands because frankly, using a shared hand towel is so incredibly unsanitary, you may as well have someone sneeze directly into your face. When I'm done drying my hands, if needed, I'll dab any wetness behind me before tossing the used paper towels into the trash. But even that's unnecessary because I found that merely sitting for a minute or two before getting up is more than enough time for most of the water to drip off. As for expense, bidets are extremely cost effective. You can find a no-frills version for less than $50 online, or at least you could normally, but sadly at the time of this video, we're living in a watered-down Mad Max world, making some products scarce, including toilet paper, which makes those of us who already had a bidet installed in our homes feel extremely smug. Speaking of toilet paper, in my area, a 6-pack of the name brand, the good kind that doesn't result in splinters or accidental finger poke-throughs, averages out to be about $1 per roll. And while it's difficult to estimate everyone's usage, it's believed the average US household goes through about 1 roll per week. Using those estimates, a bidet easily pays for itself in less than a year. Granted, if you live in town, you're also paying something for the water used, but as the average cost of city water can be as low as a penny per gallon, the amount used for a bidet is low enough to be almost negligible. It should also be said that in rural areas where municipal sewers aren't used, a bidet helps to greatly reduce the impact on a septic tank. And even those with sewers are less likely to clog their drains using a bidet. In fact, it's a wonder that large cities don't already offer bidet tax incentives or even free units to households and businesses as a way to lessen the amount of paper products entering their sewers. Wet wipes in particular are a major contributor to the giant balls of fat and grease known to block large arteries, and it stands to reason that many who use so-called disposable wet wipes only do so because they don't have access to a bidet. Hooking up an add-on bidet is actually very easy, or at least it can be, depending upon how your toilet is installed. If, like most bathrooms, your toilet has an existing shut-off valve, it's as simple as turning off the water, screwing the bidet's hose into the line, fitting the unit under the seat, reinstalling the seat, and if needed, affixing some rubber bumpers to keep the seat level, and you're done. I have less mechanical acumen than a Neanderthal using a smartphone, but even I was able to install my bidet in less than 15 minutes. I really wanted to include installation footage here, but literally everyone I gifted a bidet to had already installed theirs before I could get around to filming them, and because of the current pandemic, I'm unable to get a new one very quickly to demonstrate. So I'm relying on what the manufacturers provide, but it usually is just as simple as they show it. Will a bidet change your life? That depends on the individual, but in my situation, with my medical issues, it absolutely had a major impact in reducing the time I spend in the bathroom and definitely improved my quality of life. I will also say that every single friend and family member who installed one loves it and never wants to use a toilet without one. So I urge you to keep checking Amazon and order a bidet as soon as they're available again. Unless you're one of those who hoarded all the toilet paper. You don't deserve a clean butthole! I love my bidet!